All right, so we are, I think, live, and hopefully no more technical difficulties anymore. We'll see, because now you're hosting on Zoom, and I think that might be a lot better for us.
Yeah, hey, we'll know within the next 15 to 45 minutes.
Well, tonight's definitely an interesting night. So obviously we have the debate to see who's basically going to be the second place finisher in the Republican primary right now. Except this time it's literally just Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis over on CNN, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Ron DeSantis dunking on Nikki Haley as much as the next guy, but let's face it, no one does it better than Vivek, and so not seeing him there is a disappointment to me. But the good part is Vivek is now over at the same time as the debate's happening over on the Tim Pool show, doing a town hall over in Iowa as well. So they have a whole live setup in Iowa for like their own version of a town hall. And Trump is also doing something over on Fox News at the same time. So
What a night! What a
I
night! And
know.
the Wolfpack's playing the Tar Heels, so it's just good stuff everywhere.
And of course, people should come and watch this over any of those three great, performances. But no, I mean, have you ever seen an election like this where all the candidates have like split apart at this point
No,
and start doing their own shtick like this? I mean,
no, nope.
maybe I'm young, but
I've
this
been
seems
I've been
very
watching.
bizarre.
Now I've been watching this stuff since I was a teenager, and I've never seen anything like this, even close.
I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm a Vivek shill. I mean, I'll be honest. Obviously, I'm rooting for Vivek no matter what, but I'm rooting for him to get second place because again, we know who's getting him first. However, well, I don't know. I guess you still think he's going to get taken out at some point for whatever reason, but Vivek is obviously the person I'm supporting in the primaries and everything, so open about that. However, I really think he's doing the right thing, just saying, you know what, screw CNN. Why are we there in the first place? And that's frankly a good question. Why is any Republican debate ever hosted by CNN or MSNBC in the first place? That makes absolutely no sense. He called this out during the second debate. And then what do you know? He went on a town hall with CNN where he basically said, January 6th was an inside job, which by definition it was because cops let people in, taking selfies with them, escorting them to the Senate hall. That is by definition an inside job. Someone on the inside had to release the magnetic locks for people to get in. Whether or not you want to say,
Doors didn't open themselves.
exactly, whether or not you want to say, if there's feds in the crowd and stuff like that, though Ray Epps did just actually get a slap on the wrist for him actually saying, I'm the one who orchestrated it all, and he gets a slap on the wrist. So let's be real, there was probably feds in the crowd. But even if you don't believe any of that stuff, it's still an inside job by definition, even by CNN's own reporting of the incident. But after he called that out, CNN raked him over the coals. They ended the town hall early just so they could bring out people to start saying how wrong he is and how much misinformation it was. They pulled his video off YouTube of him doing the
Yeah.
town hall while letting Nikki Haley's, of course, stay up. And what do you know? Well, their polls are now suddenly showing that Vivek didn't score high enough to be able to be on the debate stage. I mean, their same polls actually also show Nikki Haley in some states within just a few points of Trump, so I'm not sure how much I would actually take their polls to heart, but isn't it kind of strange right after Vivek destroys them in a town hall? Oh, these polls aren't showing you have the right amount of supporters of Vivek, even though he's probably pulling in more people at most of his events than any other candidate at the moment.
Well, you know where I stand. I'm still DeSantis all the way. He's the only sane choice right now to be president. Vivek, I like, and especially the last week or so, he's been fantastic.
Oh
Every
yeah.
time anybody gets in front of him, he just tears it up, and he doesn't pull punches, and he speaks truth. So I'm not opposed to Vivek. I just don't think he's the best candidate at this time.
Well, you like experience, and you're not wrong when you say DeSantis's track record does speak for itself. And frankly, I'll say his track record speaks better for him than he speaks for himself. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's part of his problem. That's part of his problem is he wants to let his record speak. And in this day and age, you've got to be your very own carnival barker, and he's just not that.
no, no. He again. I've said before. I really think sometimes the dude is slightly autistic. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying he doesn't know how to read a room sometimes. Like he just like every time he tries to make a joke, it just comes off kind of just it's not very good. But the problem is, of course, again, that's terrible for him because his, like you said, everything he's done in Florida was fantastic. I mean, totally just, what do you win by the last election for? I mean, he won his first election by
Over
only
20
like a
points.
point or two.
It wasn't even a point, and it was almost Gillum. You know, that would have been just Florida would have been maybe lost forever. It was just I mean, skin of our teeth. Florida was saved. Imagine what COVID would have been like in Florida under.
Or frankly, another Republican candidate had won. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
A lot of Republican candidates gladly locked everything down, right? A lot of Republican candidates gave in to all of that crap and still was out. You know, there was plenty of Republican states where they were arresting people for going to church. Okay, there was plenty of Republican states where they arrested you for practicing your First Amendment rights of just coming together with more than the approved amount of people. So, you know, Republican. It could be another Republican candidate besides DeSantis had won in Florida, and Florida could have still gone to hell. It
And
was
instead-
thanks to the fact it was DeSantis, and
And instead, he stood up. He stood up to every leftist attack. He stood up to every press leftist attack. He stood up to corporations. He stood up and fought and won more than he lost, and people respected it. And he won the state in ways nobody ever dreamed possible. For
now,
Republicans.
admittedly, part of what helped him win was because he had the good policies there in the first place. A lot of Republicans from places like New York and California, they flooded that place like crazy. You know, they flooded Texas. They flooded Florida. So you also had a big influx of Republican voters fleeing from blue states, which, I mean, I know that might not be good for the culture of the country when we have like this big of a divergence when it comes to political opinions between states. However,
Yeah,
it is good for
that
Florida.
It was that much of an impact, though. I mean, you're gonna kind of take away from the fact that South Florida went red for the first time ever. Miami was red.
I don't
The
mean to even
Hispanic
take away. In
population
fact,
was DeSantis.
well, I'm not even saying I'll take it. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. In fact, I'm actually trying to credit him in the sense of he did such a good job when people decide to look for somewhere else to go. They looked to Florida, right? They didn't look over here to North Carolina. At least they did, but not nearly as much, right?
Right.
They,
Okay. I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
you're diminishing this because Trump pulls from one pool. Trump pulls from one pool, and in a general election, it's probably not enough, especially knowing that there's going to be wide open mail-in, no ID voting all
Oh, yeah.
across the board.
Hey, North Carolina, we got ID voting again, so yay.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's see if it lasts till the election. We've had it
That is
before,
true.
and it was taken away. So let's see if Tyrant Cooper tries to step in and one last stab to kill it. But Trump he's going to pull from one side, and probably not going to be enough. DeSantis pulls from all sides, all races.
But does he
DeSantis is
pull
man.
from the Trump base? That is my worry.
No,
with
that's
DeSantis.
the problem. He does not. That's probably the biggest place he won't pull from is the hardcore Trump
But you
base.
need that. You need it. That's the worst part. Because again, like I'm a big Trump fan. All right. And again, I'll say this: back in 2006 or 7, I predicted exactly what a Trump presidency would be like while I was still in high school, and I have to say I was about dead on my prediction. He made a big government run pretty dang effectively. But I want someone who would go in there, of course, reduce the size of government, which is why I want someone like Vivek. Or, I mean, obviously, someone like more libertarian like Rand Paul would be even better, but, you know, we can't always get what we want. I still appreciate what Trump did, obviously. I just don't see how any other candidate, though, best him so long as as long as he is choosing to run. If you take him out by any other means besides his own choice, his people will straight up not vote. They will not vote. They will completely just there'll be a protest of the entire election.
I don't disagree with that, but I think your definition of how good the government was run is a little bit of a stretch.
Maybe a little bit. I liked his foreign policy a lot. I thought his foreign policy was absolutely fantastic. But
So
you're right.
You can just turn your head to the trillions of dollars of added debt and not cutting any departments out whatsoever,
Yes.
not finishing the wall that was promised, not putting the best people in place. I mean, come on, he only hires the best people.
Or he literally. Well, the problem was he listened to what the establishment said. He got in there and went, "All right, well now that I won, y'all are going to work with me, right?" And they said yes. And they said, "Well, here's the people we want you to put in," and he just listened to them. Like, I mean, I guess that's where lack of experience does come into play, where he didn't realize just how slimy these people were. but his own people were actively working against him. Now, what I think is, I do think a second term of his might be better than the first just because now he understands that more, but that's me projecting. I have no idea. You are correct when you say DeSantis has that track record of cutting, right? He has that track record of actually doing what needs to be done. Now, again,
when Vivek says he's going to jump in on day one and cut, I'm all for it. Now, that's what I want more than anything.
Well,
There's so many departments that
would,
should never exist, and the weenie bureaucrats that are running everything, we've got to put an end to that. Unelected weenies that are running everything.
You're very civil in your description of them there.
I can't say what I'd like to say.
I'm not. Listen, if you said what you would like to say, you might get raided. I don't know.
I'm trying to stick to my Christian vocabulary.
The funny thing though is like, so I'm not sure if you saw it. Chris Christie officially out of the race is what they announced. So Chris Christie is now officially out of the race. Thank goodness. I mean, everything that guy said was complete trash. And speaking of things he did say though, he did get caught on a hot mic.
I just feel real sorry for all the fast food franchisees in Iowa. It's going to be a big hit to their bottom line.
Well, before he dropped, while he was in New Hampshire doing a town hall there, he did get caught on a hot mic, basically straight up saying, when someone asked him about Nikki Haley, he said, "Oh, no matter what, she's wasting all this money. She's going to get smoked in the general by Trump, easily." And then he started to say that he talked to Ron DeSantis, and DeSantis was petrified about, and then it cut out, which is like, come on, just give us those last 2 seconds. What was Ron DeSantis petrified about? However, let's face it, it's Chris Christie. He's talking out of his ass no matter what, right? He wants to seem more impressive than he is. He always sits there, and if you notice in a lot of his interviews, he does that thing where he'll go, "Oh yeah, and by the way, I was hanging out with so-and-so," or, "Hey, by the way, I was over." He does that thing where he pulls in someone who's a lot more likable than him into the conversation to make himself seem better. And we've seen it before in the corporate world too, where people almost like exaggerate and make up things they've heard so people think they're the go-to person and just know everything that's going on even though they don't know jack. And Chris Christie is that guy. So despite the fact that he did kind of, get caught in a hot mic saying that stuff, I'm not sure how much I believe him. But it is funny though, right when he gets caught with that hot mic, boom, campaign over.
Well, man, that campaign was over a long time ago. They just wouldn't admit it. So I'm glad he's out. Get him out of the way. Let's let Iowa weed out one or two more. Get it one-on-one and let the chips fall where they may.
I mean, unfortunately, if there's a one-on-one, currently, I hate to say it, Nikki Haley is still polling better than DeSantis and Vivek on almost all pollings. However, I'm still not sure how much I believe it because I have not found a single supporter of hers. Like, I go to a very conservative church that has a lot of people. No one I have talked to is a Nikki Haley supporter. I know one Nikki Haley supporter, and you know them too. They live in D.C., so I'm not sure if they really count entirely. So, that's the only Nikki Haley supporter I've ever met.
But they're Republican.
We give him grief, right? We every time we see him, we definitely give him some grief about it, because he definitely used to be a pretty good Republican, and DC changes people, doesn't it?
There's something in the waters of that swamp. I'm not sure what's in it, but there's something in the water. But no, I'm with you. And look at her quote unquote rallies. You might as well have 6 circles on the ground with people standing inside the circles like we had back with the 81 million vote Biden. So who knows?
Well, I mean, if you want to get an idea of just how, I guess, establishment she is, there's 2 things that she did somewhat recently, or at least has come out recently. I'm going to pull it up here real quick. So, and of course, this was posted by Vivek. I mean, that shows you, I guess, where I stand on most things. But Nikki Haley, when asked about, illegal immigrants, she said, "We don't need to be disrespectful. We don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that just want a better life." I mean, come on. That is exactly the Democrat talking point, right? That's exactly what the Democrats try to say. No, they're all criminals.
Yeah,
Now, some of
it's
them might be
amazing.
good people, right?
And no,
Hey,
it's
some of
amazing when
them
you
are
watch
good
those.
people.
It's amazing when you watch those videos. These are huge families filled with nothing but
Oh yeah, I
military
got
aged young men. It's not. It's I guess a modern family.
yeah, I got I got this right here. You see all these families, I guess. I see, young man here, young man here, young man there. I mean, really, let's actually just go back here on. So I'm not sure about you. I see some families, sure, but I see young man, young man, young man, young man, 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 woman, man, 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 man. Oh, maybe a boy there. I it just come on. But here's the funny thing. So this is over in Texas right now, and of course Texas put up this barbed wire fence to help try to keep the illegal crossings down. This right here is Border Patrol actually destroying a border fence in order to allow them to enter the country illegally. That is what we have happening right now. So I know the Republicans, I always see them talk about, say, we got to support Border Patrol. No, we need to fire and possibly jail a lot of them. All right, because
Well,
if you are assisting
no. We need to fire and jail the people that are giving the orders.
Oh, well, that too. But
So
guess,
them
but
too,
if they,
but
if
we got to
someone,
start it. Let's start at the top.
well, true, okay, I'll agree with that. But at the same time, if the chief of police orders some cops to go rob a bank, we don't go, well, you were just following orders. No, we would arrest them all because they're all in on the plot. This right here is them funneling human trafficking right here. This is human trafficking.
That
All right,
was
they're
done
pulling
by
people
order. That was
illegally
done
across
by
the border. This is
order of the
not an
Biden
approved
administration.
border entrance.
That was
And they're
done
tearing
by,
down a fence to allow them to enter.
It was done by order of the Biden administration. It was done by order of Mayorkas. That we know this is
Yes.
how it came about.
So here's my question.
So what
though.
we know now is that they have a very strong MO. If there's a door somewhere and there are people outside that shouldn't be in, they'll open it and let them in. Let's just see if they have the same appetite to go after these folks that they've let in as they did the ones at the Capitol.
And that's a very good point. Yeah, here's my thing with some of this here is that Texas, this is Texas's border, right? Because I mean, yes, the United States border, but this is right at Texas. Where is the Attorney General in Texas filing charges against Biden and all, like you said, go to the top. Have Texas file the dang charges. If New York can sit there and bring Trump in because, oh, he said Mar-a-Lago was more expensive than it really was, even though they're not the ones who are even responsible for deciding how expensive a property is. The only person who decides how expensive a property is me and the person I'm selling it to. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. If I'm going to a bank to get a loan for this property, it's up to me and the bank to decide what the actual value is, not the government. But if they can sit there and go after Trump, with crap like that, where is Texas saying, you know what? These people cut down our fence, trafficked people into our state. Why are they not prosecuting Biden or anyone else in his administration? And this is what I mean when I say Republicans are weak. We are weak at times, and this is a great example of it.
It's unspeakable what they're allowing to happen. And when they do file these lawsuits, they just go nowhere. They end up in front of a panel of ridiculous leftist judges that do nothing. It's we have so much that show us the evidence of Biden's corruption. Well, there's 1,000 pieces of evidence. They do nothing. Hunter
no. Now I say
Hunter walks out. They do nothing. They're going to do nothing. The truth of the matter is we're on the right. There's a few people on the left, but everything is run by one party, and that's the problem. And they're on the same side, and it's not ours.
Well, it's funny. Nikki Haley, again, I'm going to hit Nikki Haley again because I like doing so.
Well, that was just idiocy what she said.
Here's the thing. She also said it was Hillary Clinton that first got me into wanting to be in politics. And, I had to first decide whether or not I was a Republican or Democrat. I'm like, of course you had to decide that because you agree with both parties because you truly are the epitome of establishment. You are a warmonger. You are what what they said Dick Cheney was, just with some lipstick. I think actually Vivek said that to her. He was talking about someone I know, but she wants just more war, which both parties typically want, right? I mean, the Democrats want to go to war in Russia. It was Republicans who, of course, wanted to push for more war in the Middle East for a while there. Fortunately, now the Republicans have finally kind of realized, you know what? Why don't we go back to an American first agenda? And it's the Democrats who are now the pro-war party. So, of course, she's now leaning more to the old school establishment Republican slash Democrats. She is the epitome of the swamp. She is the epitome of a rhino. She is the epitome of the establishment at its core. And while at the same time, of course, there's tons of people saying, DeSantis is the epitome of the establishment, which is always just so bizarre to me.
That's ridiculous. That is such a ridiculous argument.
I get not liking DeSantis. I understand not liking DeSantis to a certain degree. I really do.
If you can't put personality aside to vote for the best person, that's dumb on your part.
That's never the case, though. I hate it. I hate it too, but it's never the case.
You asked me if I ever seen such a fragmented race like this has become, and I said absolutely not. So here's the other thing I've never seen. In a primary, every candidate should be running hard right, because this is a Republican primary. You run right, and then you move left. The fact that Trump is so entrenched, she's running left way earlier than that we've ever seen before. That's amazing too. These are things that political scientists will get to look at and write about for a long time. But she's right now, she should be out there throwing red meat to the crowds. And instead, she's throwing swamp water.
Well, they'll write about for a long time if they're still allowed to write about it. I mean, come on, look what's happening all over the world at this point. I mean, even over, I think in Poland, like the right-wing government there just got arrested.
Poland was on a good run, and now that's lost.
I always like the graphs that show like all the terrorist attacks all throughout Europe, and then there's just nothing in Poland at all. They're screwed at this point. I mean, they're arresting people left and right for disobeying their government. But I mean, hey, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. So, what can we really say? I think you said in about maybe 2 or 3 videos back that we're not exporting the culture we should be anymore. That we're basically, exporting complete trash to the rest of the world now. And until we get that straight, there's not much we can do.
Yeah, when your country has no soul, what else are you going to export?
But I just get an idea just how bad right now, because I really think, it's funny, I didn't think at the beginning of this election cycle the border was going to be the issue, but it really seems has started to really become the issue. And I'm happy about it, because I really do think it is one of the biggest issues there are in this country. But just so people can realize just how bad it is, this is from CBS, so not a right-wing source. Over 300,000 migrants in December. 300,000. The highest monthly tally on record. And again, these are just the ones we know about. Right? This isn't everyone that comes through. No, there could be another 100,000 to add to this list. And this is all in 1 month. Now, what does that do to the demographic makeup of any place they enter at this point? And I know people don't want to talk about the demographic makeups of the place. And again, I'll make this very clear. We don't care about race. We really don't. We never really have. What we care about, though, is the culture that's now being imported into the country. If all these people were white, I still would say the same thing. I don't want people coming from socialist and just corrupt countries and coming to our countries with those set of values. I'd rather people come from good countries that want to come over here and make our country even better. When your first act is a criminal act, disrespecting our laws, how am I ever supposed to expect that you will respect anything else that we have in our country going forward? It's just lunacy. But 300,000 in December.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It used to be, you'd see families and groups of families from like Cuba, and they'd be on these makeshift rafts and just trying their best to get away from communism into freedom. And there was no argument from the right to kick those people out.
No. And here's the thing. I'll be honest, maybe this makes me a bit more radical, but I got convinced a while back by someone that maybe even letting those people in might not be the best thing. Not for us. Actually, the argument was it actually isn't good for us. We should let them in for us. But for the countries they're fleeing, that normally, that when a country has that many people trying to flee, if the people can't flee, eventually a revolution has to happen there because someone has to stand up. The people who have the initiative to possibly do something like that are the ones who also have the initiative just to get the hell out. So what are they going to choose to do? Like, we want these places to change, but we're also taking away all the people who could be those forces for change. So there is a negative effect, even if we take in the right people when it comes to just the rest of the world as a whole. So, and that should also kind of, I think, be mentioned. But I will say, obviously, I would love more. That's a valid point. I would love more Cubans coming over here from communist countries because they typically vote Republican.
Family values too.
Yeah, yeah. I know we talked about before. The one benefit of some of this is the fact that obviously, there has been a rise in stuff like Catholicism, and even though we're not Catholics, it's still Christianity at its core, and that's still a positive thing overall. The problem is, though, they then just probably send their kids to public schools, and what happens there, right? Like, I mean, that is a problem still. And also, you're assuming that they're still families at this case, right? Not just people coming over.
Well,
But
the biggest problem we have now is it's not families coming over. It's fighting age men that are coming over
yes,
in droves, and we've got to wonder why. Why is that what's happening right now, and why are we allowing that to happen right now?
well, I mean,
What's the end game? You used to say, well, we want people to come in because they got to do the jobs that Americans won't do and things like that. And now you're looking at the population decline. It's already showing that more immigrants have come in than babies have been born.
Yep.
Over the last period of time. That was another stat that came out.
Hey, we're doing our part over here. We're doing our part over here.
You've got two.
We're at replacement level over here. We want to get more.
but no, it's there's an end game. There's an end game with this, and if you call it a replacement theory, then you're demonized. But what's
Biden called it a replacement theory. Biden's the one who said, hey, with more immigrants coming in, more Hispanics coming in, they are going to outnumber the white population in just a few more years. And that's a good thing. That was Biden's words. He's openly saying it.
I guess he's no longer so fearful of a racial jungle that'll happen.
Yeah, right.
that dude has gotten away with more. Well, they all do. On that
we know it's funny. In his absolute famous and most well-known presidential speech, the Corn Pop speech, he talked about how he saw the guy on the diving board. And he said, "Hey, you roach." And some people pointed out actually online that roach for a while there apparently was a slur used sometimes against black people. And so now what people are saying is, I wonder if Joe Biden was really yelling at some black guy not to hop in the pool, and then went out with a chain and threatened to beat him with it. Of course, the better answer was Corn Pop saw, Joe Biden getting kids to sit on his leg and rub his leg hair in the pool like he admitted to doing, and probably got a little upset.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
There's a great video I need to send you. It's Freedom Tunes, and it's all the classical presidents, like giving, like, it's Abraham Lincoln doing the Gettysburg Address and like the same cadence and everything, but saying Corn Pop was a bad dude. It goes through Martin Luther King and all of them just giving Joe Biden quotes, and it's just hysterical. True Nama shot of the pressure.
Yeah, that's it can be summed up in one word.
We were all created in the image. You know the thing.
You know the thing.
Oh man! At least we get a lot of this out of it, right? I pray that we win in the end, because historians will have so many great quotes to point to.
I know. I don't know why there aren't more of us laughing. Because if you either laugh or cry, you might as well laugh at the idiocy that we've allowed to.
Well, because leftists don't have a sense of comedy. You know how that is.
But where you were on something when this started? We were on the replacement theory, is what he was saying.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of fell into his other racist remarks through the years.
Who is he not racist? Who has he not been racist against, actually?
Yeah, I know. Obama was the first clean, articulate black person in history, apparently.
You can't go into a 7-Eleven unless you have a slight Indian accent. Which, depending on where you are, can sometimes be true. But well, going around New York, that was actually kind of true. But
apparently, you can't watch Tim Pool without having a little bit of an Indian slant. So Vivek. So let's talk Vivek for a second.
Sure.
Did you see the radio interview he was doing where I don't know the lady is the right word, but there was a female that was asking the dumbest questions I've ever heard in my life. trying to challenge him that he had no experience. And so she kept going back. Well, what did you do in sixth grade? Did you ever like lead a student? Did you ever like lead students against anything? When I was in this grade, I led the students on the protest about what our teacher was doing. I got expelled, but I was the leader. What have you ever done? And he's sitting there. He's like, well,
I started a multi-million-dollar company. Like,
yeah, it created drugs that are saving lives on a daily basis. And she was like, well, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about leading people. What have you done? And she just kept on with this ridiculous line of questioning.
Doesn't this really show the economic illiteracy of the left, though, that they think that running a business is not the equivalent of leading people?
Well, that's because we elected a president as a community organizer. That was his whole experience.
Yeah,
so
entirely.
They think that's what matters.
And mind you, you could sit there and say, well, if Vivek had experience in this, and this when it came to business, they'll discount all of that because as far as they're concerned, he's the evil, he's the evil capitalist boss who's just stealing from the laborers working beneath him, right? They don't look at that as any real experience. The only thing they actually look at is stuff like community organizing because, well, that's the good fight. That's where you're just donating nothing but your time in order to help benefit your community. Of course, when the church has been, do nothing but donate some of their time to go out and do food banks and stuff like that, they start yelling at them about why aren't they paying more, why aren't they paying taxes? But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, or the city shuts it down for not having the right food permit.
Yes. And, the city tried to shut our church down when they tried to do, when we did a full Christian kind of like concert and whole event like in the middle of Charlotte. They came and tried to shut us down, and then they, the pastor just told them, not to put words in the mouth, basically told them to get bent and go away or arrest them, do one of the two. And what do you know? They weren't going to arrest a preacher in the middle of all that. So
no, I wouldn't just assume that they wouldn't arrest the preacher, but
hey,
got away with it.
Hey, during all the COVID lockdowns, our church stayed open throughout the entire time. Not a single Sunday was missed. Now, we didn't go because Kat was pregnant, and obviously even having a basic flu is pretty bad when you're pregnant, so we did decide to stay in, and we definitely didn't do but so much. But that was just because, again, she was pregnant. Like, it just is what it is. Once she gave birth and we were good to go, we were going right back to church all over again. But the church stayed open the entire time. They never bent the knee once to it. And guess what? Cops still showed up, and because we have cops who show up there for security reasons, and they were still showing up there and doing security. They didn't care. And which also goes to show, once you stand up to the government, sometimes you do win in the end. Sometimes.
So you're saying you can beat City Hall?
Yes. Well, mostly because, obviously a lot of them are just so not caring. They just don't want to deal with it. I won't try to pull that crap in Chicago or New York, though, man. Those cops will beat your head in if they get a chance.
Yeah, you kind of watched the Gestapo New York cops roaming during COVID. You saw it firsthand.
Oh, God, yeah, right above. So we were opening up some offices for a company I was working with, and one of the offices had like some regular apartments above it. We're setting stuff up in this office. All of a sudden, multiple SUVs start coming in, lights blaring, all that stuff. All it turned out to be was an apartment had more than 3 people in there. It was like right above the limit. And next thing you know, they start bringing out all these people in handcuffs, all because they had just a few too many people in their house. It was nuts. Meanwhile, though, I saw this. Yeah, meanwhile, they're arresting these people for just having people over. While I'm staying by Times Square, and I look to my left while exiting the hotel, and what do you know it? There's a man butt naked injecting himself with a needle. And cops are literally standing less than a block away, looking at it, doing nothing. So to let him lay there in the snow during a blizzard, butt naked, injecting himself with drugs, but God forbid you had one too many people in your apartment.
Didn't you say they were coming around asking you, how many people have you seen walk in here, and questions like that? Weren't they trying to interrogate you about?
No, they started talking to me about saying like, who have we seen come in? Was there more people? And they told me to put on my mask. And I said, let's just step outside because I just didn't want, I'll be honest. A good thing I'm not working for that company anymore because I think they told me I had to, but I wasn't going, I didn't care. So just step outside. We talked outside instead, and they were trying to ask me all these questions and all this stuff. And I said, listen, I'm not going to say anything. Also, I even told the cop this directly. I'm like, dude, the people are right there. Do you think I'm going to rat them out directly to you with them sitting right there? Come on, give me a break. No, go away. And needless to say, I talked to some of them while they were waiting for, I guess, everything to get sorted out, because I don't think they were fully arrested. I think they were written a ticket and just told to get lost, basically. And it was kind of funny because they were very happy about me talking back to the cop. Let's say they were very, very happy about that. I know it's a little. I guess we got a little off topic there, but no, it is something to be said that when people say, stuff like F the police and all that stuff, listen, I like the local cops. I think majority of cops probably do a great job in this country. But I'm going to be honest, when you're talking about New York or Chicago, or probably even California and places like that, I'm a bit more sympathetic to it after what I've seen.
Yeah, well, I won't go too far down that rabbit hole. I had a few things that came to mind, but discretion is the better part of valor.
You're gonna be a good Christian, right? Oh man.
I'll make.
But you know what? Actually,
I've made so many poor choices through life. This is a chance to make a good one, so I'll make that.
Now, actually, this actually works out pretty well as a segue here, because I actually had a story pulled up that was happening in New York City. Talking about just how insane New York City is. New York City students are forced to go back to remote learning as 2,000, they put migrants, of course. No, 2,000 illegals were basically housed at their school. So right now they're sending illegal immigrants to a children's school and kicking them out so they go back doing remote learning, which, as far, we have now shown completely with tons of proof that remote learning was devastating for the development of children, right? Absolutely devastating for them.
And add that to mass blocking the mouth for speech development.
Oh,
and
yeah.
reading. It was just a terrible combination.
I'm actually very happy all of that happened, because guess what? Now Junior is excelling far past what most kids his age are excelling at. According to the pediatrician, he's like far above and beyond them. So, it makes it easier for him now to just excel. So, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad.
Well, and sometimes girls develop faster than boys anyway, but I think Sarah's a little bit further along than he was at that time.
Oh,
she's watching him and doing all the things that he does.
Pediatrician was amazed. She started counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She started like now pointing out like shirts, doing the whole like A, B, like looking at all the letters on the shirts and things. So she's doing well. That's just it, right? They're doing well because we didn't sit there and do crazy crap like that. But a lot of people did, and remote learning was a big part of this that destroyed a lot of kids' educational abilities. However, I will say it also exposed the public school for what it really is to a lot of people. So I think in the end, we might have actually got more benefit from the closures than we lost. However, this is a whole nother thing. This isn't talking about COVID. This isn't talking about, the health of the children. No, this is saying that, hey, we have criminals in this country and we're going to give them preferential treatment over the children of our city. So that's what this is.
This is in New York City, but look at what part of New York City it was.
I have that actually pulled up right over here as well. Let me
you'll know very quickly why they chose that particular area.
No, actually, that's a different one.
To send these illegals.
Let me pull it up real quick. I have it actually right here. Once it loads. There we go. So this is the area near James Madison High School. And look all around it. Oh, that's right. It's all Republican. It's one of the few areas in New York that's heavily Republican. And where do they send all the illegals to basically take away the education from their children? Where do they send them to? Oh, that's right. They send them to the Republican area of town.
That was just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence.
Oh, totally.
That was the one school out of the thousands they could have chosen.
Yeah, right. So right there is a school, smack dab in the middle of one of the only Republican areas in all of New York. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had that pulled up right here. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Well, and this is replacement theory, right? This is replacement. They're moving these people into a Republican area, knowing that, of course, they're not going to support them. And guess what? People say, oh, illegals don't get to vote anywhere. Well, one thing they do, actually, is for one, they actually count towards the Electoral College. They also count for the amount of congressmen you actually have in your state as well. Because guess what? They still get reported on the census. I think they say California has like 7 additional congressmen, possibly, from illegals alone.
And the states that are giving driver's license, you're going to tell me that those folks aren't voting somehow, some way?
Some
And
local
now,
elections have said now that illegal immigrants can vote, and there's some
what I was gonna say.
local elections that said in school board elections, especially, multiple school boards have said no, we're allowing illegals to vote because their children go to our schools, which is a whole nother issue. Where why are illegals' children's going to a public school that's paid for by the taxpayer dollars when they aren't tax-paying citizens?
And
So
did
I
you
mean
see
that's a
that
whole nother issue.
California is now going to pay for their health care.
Do what?
California is now going to pay for their health care.
Yes, California's paying for the health care of illegals. And I'm not for universal health care, but just to put this in perspective, they're paying for illegals' health care before they pay for any Americans' health care. If you think they like them more than you, this shows it, right? They literally will go above and beyond for illegals. They'll house them, they'll clothe them, they'll give them free health care. All things that, and I hate to pull this card, but all things they never do for our veterans. Right? I mean, we know that veterans have some of the highest, homeless rates there are, as well as some of the highest suicide rates there are in the country, and they do nothing for them. Right? If anything, they end up hindering them more than helping them half the time with the way the VAs typically ran.
Well, and they followed this up with a new wealth tax proposal for California. So if you're a business owner in California, you better get your voice heard or get your butt out.
Just get out. There is no getting your voice heard at this point. These are communists.
They're coming for unrealized gains to be taxed in your business.
That's like you putting saying it's like you playing blackjack and them going, "Hey, we're going to tax you on your winnings, even though you might lose." Like that's like them pre-taxing you when you go to gamble. It doesn't make any sense. Like and all it's going to do is drop completely. Because who's going to ever invest, right? Who will ever invest in anything ever again? Which might be their plan, because then the economy fully collapses and they can start taking control of it, saying, "Oh, capitalism failed," even though they literally hindered it.
The best thing about it, James, it'll stop Trump from overvaluing his property.
So, because I think we've talked a good amount about the border right now and some of the stuff going over there. I'm not sure if you saw this, but the judge in that case in New York said Trump will not be allowed to give any closing arguments to the case, all because he was saying,
I think that might be overblown. Because his team has already done closing arguments, and there's some sort of legal ruling procedure that would apply to anyone. So I don't know that one is particularly the anti-Trump.
So, well, here's my thing though. They said the reason they gave is because he will go off topic, and the judge even used the term misinformation. So
yeah, now that I didn't see that part. So yeah, that tells us what it's all about.
Yeah, so that's my thing. And really, this whole case should have been thrown out. Any judge who isn't, I'm about to use a word I can't say on YouTube. What's the best way? Anyone who's not mentally incompetent, how's that? Would be able to see instantly that this case is total bogus and will toss it out. Left or right, doesn't matter. The case makes no sense. For those of you who are unaware, the case is that when he was trying to get a loan from a bank, he used Mar-a-Lago as, basically the collateral for it, said, hey, it's valued at X amount of dollars. The bank said, well, I think we agree with that. Handed him the money. He then paid the loan back plus interest. Everything clear. Sounds like nothing whatsoever, and it truly is. But now the New York government, and mind you, again, Mar-a-Lago in Florida, the New York government is actually coming in saying, no, he broke the law because he misrepresented the value of Mar-a-Lago to that bank and overestimated it. And the estimate that New York is giving for Mar-a-Lago is literally less than properties that are 1/10 of the size in the same area. They're going by the tax appraisal, which everyone knows the tax appraisal is always far less than what you would ever sell a house for, let alone Mar-a-Lago, which is a whole business into itself. It is literally the dumbest. They're saying Mar-a-Lago is worth, I think only like $10 million or something like that. I mean, a house on West Palm Beach that is a fraction of the size goes at times for in the hundreds. Absolutely. And the best part is the bank who he did the deal with even came out and said, well, there was nothing wrong with the deal. We agreed to it and he paid us back plus interest. It was a great deal. It made the bank a lot of money. And they're still going after him for it.
Yeah,
And
no,
so now,
that-
of course, Trump was going to use his ability to, closing argument, probably to rant about that. Let's be real. Of course, he's going to say, this is nothing but, Banana Republic style convictions. They're going after me with whatever they can to try to stop me from running, to stop me from campaigning. They're running scared. And the judge doesn't want him to say anything.
That's one more line on the appeal. He never had a chance to not get convicted on it.
I know. And here's the thing. Is there ever now, can we actually ever have a fair justice system again at this point? Because let's face it, if you're a Republican, no matter what crime you did, if you're going to a jury in New York, they will convict you. Right? I mean, there's that guy on the subway, I forget his name, who literally defended people who were being attacked by a violent thug. I mean, maybe just crazy homeless dude, I guess. I won't call him a thug. Just crazy homeless dude threatening people on the tram. And he defended those people, and the guy ended up accidentally dying. That dude's going to get convicted so fast in New York, even though nothing he did was wrong. In fact, he should be regarded as a hero for helping people.
Yeah.
And that's what kills it. Whenever a case like this happens, we should be going, wow, what a great citizen who put his life on the line to protect others. And there's multiple cases like this. There was a case in New York where the bodega owner literally started getting stabbed by this guy who tried giving him fake, I think it was like a fake 20, and he told him to get lost. The dude came back, started stabbing him, and his girlfriend was also stabbing him. And so he grabbed a box cutter, stabbed the dude back, and he got put in Rikers Island for it. There was another case in New York, a third case, and it's amazing these are so common. Dude was in a parking garage. The guy mugged him. They wrestled for the gun. The mugger shot the dude. The dude still managed to get the gun away and then shot the mugger. The dude who was being mugged was the one who then went to jail. This is New York. There is no true justice system there whatsoever. I mean, there is no, if you ever go near this place, just know you will never get a fair trial. You will never get a fair trial in New York. You'll never get one in DC. You'll never get one anywhere probably, in LA or San Francisco or any of these kind of places anymore.
Yeah, you can say the same thing about the South. All of the large southern cities are run by the same DAs.
Yeah. I mean, God forbid if I do anything here in Charlotte.
Good luck in Atlanta. Good luck in, I don't know, Houston, Austin. I mean, just start naming the cities.
Well, this is funny. One reason why Vivek isn't at the CNN debate, I assume, is because of what he was saying about January 6th, right? Saying that these people are political hostages, which they entirely are.
They
right?
are.
And here's the thing. Even the ones who are violent, I know they like to say, well, the ones who are violent, well, they should definitely go to jail. No, and here's why. The ones who are violent, who were in fact breaking laws, had their constitutional rights denied to them when they were not allowed to have access to evidence that could have helped them in their cases that the government was in possession of. The government had videos of people being let into the Capitol. Even if it wasn't them who were being let into the Capitol, that still helps their case.
Would they have been violent had they not been tear gassed, inappropriately hit with rubber bullets before there was any violence going on? That was totally instigated. That was instigated. It's just part of the inside job.
And here's the thing. You could argue still, well, no, they should have backed down at that point. They shouldn't have been violent. They should still face charges. Fine. I'm okay with people even saying that. But guess what? They were denied that video evidence that could have been used in their case. All right, the government has a duty that when they acquire evidence in regards to any case, they have to turn it over to the defense to make sure the defense can review all of it. All right, that is how we handle all of our legal proceedings. Every last person who's been convicted at this point should be pardoned simply due to the fact that they were denied their constitutional rights. Even the ones who frankly probably should be in jail, because there were people doing bad things. They were the minority, but there were people there who, by all accounts, probably should go to jail for what they did. But even where they should or should not doesn't matter. If their constitutional rights are denied to them, then they need to be released. Not only that, I would also argue that the fact they held the trial...
The one that should be held accountable was the one that shot Ashley Babbitt.
Oh, that 100%. The girl who was being already escorted out by two cops who just poked her head into a window. Yeah, and she's already been, for one, even if she was even if she was wielding a knife, you still wouldn't shoot her because there's literally 2 cops right next to her. You could hit one of the cops. I mean,
Of all the people and the other person that probably should be held accountable got probation.
oh yeah, Ray Epps. Yeah, the guy who was going up there saying, we have to break into the Capitol and we got to go in. And of course, everyone's chanting, Fed, Fed, Fed around him. Who openly said, and I think it was text messages or could have been emails, that he was the one who orchestrated the riots.
Orchestrated it.
The grandma who went over there and stayed within the velvet ropes, of course, she's in solitary confinement. Ray Epps, in the meantime, never went to really any jail during all of this and then got probation afterwards.
If a Republican wins this next election and doesn't immediately pardon, I don't care who it is, they've gone swamp. That should be a day one.
I wouldn't say that because I don't think DeSantis is going to pardon any, or at least not a lot of them. I really don't think so. I'd be honest though, I'm not entirely sure Trump will either.
I'll disagree with him. Yeah, I don't think Trump will either. When he doesn't follow through, he could have done it his last day in office and didn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't trust Trump would do it either. I think Vivek would probably do it, but mostly because Vivek is a little crazy with stuff like that, which I love. I don't think DeSantis. I think DeSantis might look at a few cases of it and would pardon people.
Vivek says he's going to fire half the people in the government on day one. No, he's not. I mean, he's not going to do that. I wish he could, but he's not going to do that.
Here's the thing, though. If he aims for half and only gets 10%, I would be ecstatic.
It won't happen.
But that's the thing. We're saying DeSantis will do it.
I didn't say he would either.
Okay. So you agree then DeSantis will probably just do a really good job with what he has available to him, not so much so much when it comes to cutting the government.
No, I think he'll cut government over time, but it won't be. Vivek said day one he's going to fire 1 million people or whatever. He's not going to do that. It's
God,
fun
I
to
wish
say.
someone would.
It's fun to say, but he's not going to do that.
Well, I mean, he's not going to do it because he's not going to win he's not going to win the primary.
He is going to do it. If they have any hint that he really is going to do it, they're going to Seth Rich him.
I'm about to say he's gone. If they actually believed he was going to do it, he's gone. Which I will say, what does show you that Trump isn't connected to the Epstein stuff is that if he was connected to all that stuff, man, they would have pulled that card long ago.
Yeah, those pictures would have come out before his tax records did.
But I'm just saying that I don't think DeSantis is going to pardon most of these people either, to be honest. I don't think Trump is to be, again, like, Trump.
No, for the pardon, the best choice or the best option that might do it would be Vivek.
But I don't think, I don't consider DeSantis establishment. I really don't. But I also don't, and it might sound kind of weird, but I want someone who's kind of radical when it comes to stuff, and I don't think he's that kind of radical. I think he's radical in other ways, which I love. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, when it comes to legal proceedings, he typically does try to stay out of that sort of stuff. He does try to, he does one thing only one thing I can point to he's done to have a good impact when it comes to a lot of legal proceedings, which was firing a judge in Florida, or getting rid of a judge in Florida who was being backed by George Soros. That was excellent. But there was also more judges that were also having that same thing happen in Florida that he never touched soon after. So I really think it was more of a campaign push, unfortunately. I'm happy he did it. I'm glad he did it.
No, you got to look at the facts of the case. He actually had legal grounds to do it because of what was being done. So you have to lay the case. You can't just.
I get that.
You can't just say it's a Soros person, so I'm gonna get rid of him.
You should be able to.
Well, yeah,
he openly says he wants to overthrow the United States government. If you're being funded by someone who says that, I think it's okay.
It's a right to work state too, right? But that's just not how it works. And so the case was there, and he used it. Who else did? Nobody.
And that's what I'm saying. I give him full props for that.
What's so funny is he was considered so radical. Right up until the point he said, "I'm going to run for president." Then
no. It's not that he ran for president.
He's an establishment.
No, it's not that he ran for president. It's how he went about it is why. It all started when they said they were going to start convicting Trump, and when he was asked about it, he said that he was basically going to stand out of the way and let them do whatever they want because since Trump lives in Florida. That was the start of it all. He had an easy win. He could have really pushed really hard there and then he made a backhanded compliment about Trump paying off hookers, which I'll be honest, he probably did.
He did.
I mean,
that's public record.
Yeah, he did. But I mean, multi-billion-dollar playboy. I mean, come on. I don't wait. I really don't care.
Right.
Hey,
So he has no personality. He cuts a joke, and you're gonna hate him for it.
but that's the problem. It wasn't a joke. It was like just petty. He didn't play it right. He just didn't play it right. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't know how to read a room. And so it came across as petty. And it was more the fact that he also said that he wasn't going to do anything in the defense of Trump when it came to them coming over. When he was asked, like, if they come over to arrest Trump in Mar-a-Lago, will you, like, tell the police around, Florida to not cooperate? And he basically said, no, I'm going to let them do what they, want to do. Here's the thing. Easy win for him. All you had to do was say, well, I advise them not to, but I, of course, can't fully control all of it. But I definitely advise them they should not cooperate because clearly this is a Banana Republic style conviction. That's all he had to say. And then he could still make the backhanded compliment. But that was the start of it, really. The start of it was him going from being pretty radical about a lot of things to all of a sudden kind of being a little milquetoast when it came to anything that is clearly happening to Trump that is totally unconstitutional. And again, he should have played the Vivek angle. If he played the Vivek angle, he would have been doing a lot better with at least the Trump supporters. Now, admittedly, he might not have as much supporters of his own during the primaries, but at the very least, Trump supporters wouldn't hate him, and people wouldn't be considering him establishment, even though, again, I agree with you, he's not. But he should have played the Vivek angle. Vivek is that using the exact playbook that DeSantis should have said where, hey guys, I am a better Trump. I am a mature Trump. I actually have experience in a positive record unlike Trump, but I do agree with everything involving the MAGA agenda. That's all he had to come out and do. And people would have loved him for it even if they disagreed with him running.
Okay, so you're saying he should have done like Vivek and been Trump's little toady throughout this whole thing.
No, you don't have to be a toady to it. Again, he could still hit Trump. I'm just saying as when it came to the stuff that's clear, like that, it's a total witch hunt against him, he should be very, very honest and not just honest about it, but he should also be very active fighting against it, saying this is bad for our entire party. This is bad for the country. We cannot allow this to happen. I don't want Trump to win, and I don't want Trump to win the primaries. But you know what? He should not be being disqualified because of these bogus charges. That's all he has to do. But he never seems to do it. He just kind of dances around the question pretty quickly, just says, no, I don't know, and it kind of goes on. I want someone who will actually say, I disagree with Trump, but he has every right to be here because all of this is bogus. That's what I want to see from him, and he just doesn't do it. And then again, he goes on, and he shouldn't be doing this CNN debate either. All right, we had the perfect opportunity to neuter CNN's ability to have any control over the Republican Party. If the only person who agreed to that debate was Nikki Haley, CNN would be tanked at that point when it came to any of their influence over the Republican primaries. It would have been destroyed. All you had to do was say, hey, why don't we all get together and instead do something with The Blaze, go to Daily Wire. Daily Wire loves DeSantis. Yet guess what? Vivek still would have gladly gone on Daily Wire, and if Nikki Haley chose not to go on the biggest conservative network right now, because I'm not calling Fox News conservative, if she refused to go on the biggest conservative network right now, she will show her true stripes. DeSantis has all these golden opportunities, and he won't take them. He keeps playing the traditional route, which makes him seem establishment, even though, again, his policies are clearly not.
So it's kind of funny watching you get so worked up over this. We addressed this already with Haley running left in a primary, which is odd. DeSantis's deal was he started running a general election campaign in a primary, and I agree with you. That was a mistake, especially early on. And his social media team early on was stepping in at every chance they got.
His campaign team is hurting him more than anything else. His campaign team is terrible.
Yeah, but we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to see how the Iowa caucus is supposed to be like minus 100 temperature. It's going to take some pretty dedicated people that are going to come out. And his ground game is supposedly superior to everyone else's. They've knocked on 3 million doors. They've got like 30,000 plus commitments from captains at different areas where the Trump team really hasn't put any effort into their ground game at all. So, could be totally wrong, but it's feeling like Iowa might be a little bit of a surprise to the mainstream media.
I mean, again, I'll say this. My phone's been off. I'll say this. If DeSantis wins, I will be ecstatic to vote for him in 2020 or 2024. I'll be ecstatic to vote for him, right? Because I really do think he would make an amazing president. I truly, truly do. My anger for him comes from just him making, to me, what seems like stupid mistakes that he should not be making, because he is such a good candidate overall. He has such great policies. He had such a great track record in Florida. I would love for him to be accepted and loved by all the Trump supporters. I would love for him to one day be president. I just worry that he's basically just, put his foot in his mouth, his apparently small feet and oversized boots. I don't know, but but again, I truly do like DeSantis. I really would love to see him be president. I would not be remotely disappointed.
Of all the tens of millions of dollars that have been spent on attack ads, who's being attacked? There's only one that's being attacked. And the attacks are never on policy. They're never on things that matter. The attacks have been on style, personality, boots, and he can't smile properly. And
He really can't.
Every attack is so superficial. There's not been one substantive attack on his ability to lead or his track record.
I get that's frustrating because, again, like I love Rand Paul, right? And that's all that would ever happen to him. Oh, he just kind of looks kind of slimy. He just looks kind of weird. He looks kind of he looks like he's just untrustworthy. And I'm like, what? Just listen to his words, people. Like,
I'd support Rand in a heartbeat.
Again, he's still. I mean, his dad is even a better candidate than him. I'll be honest. I'll take Ron in his 90s over most candidates today.
Rand.
Then again, which senator or which emperor is the one who elected his horse as a senator in Rome? Do you remember?
I remember, but I don't remember which one it was.
Oh man, I'm blanking on it. I feel bad. But you know what? I'd rather that happen to our country than
go on your rant. I'll look it up.
I'd rather that happen to this country than allowing someone like Nikki Haley or Biden to win again, because you know what? At least then nothing will get done, which would be better for the American people than them, of course, actually trying to do something. And that's kind of the big problem right now, is the fact of a lot of times they'll sit there and say, well, you're not going to get anything done. Like, that's a bad thing. No, I want people to get elected who will get nothing done sometimes, because sometimes nothing is a lot better than something.
I should have known this. I should have known. I don't know why it didn't come to mind sooner. It was Caligula.
I knew it was one of the crazy ones.
Yeah.
I was thinking Caligula, but I was also thinking Nero for some reason.
Yeah, I was on the wrong track. I was leaning Nero.
Yeah, I was leaning. I couldn't figure out if it was Caligula or Nero, and didn't want to look like an idiot. But
but we're admitting that we're idiots anyway. After we looked it up. So
yeah, exactly. We're honest. We're honest people here. So I will say,
all those Roman emperors look alike. It's hard to figure them out.
I don't know. Caligula had an interesting track record. That's he stands out a bit more. So I tell you, do you want to jump to something depressing or something optimistic next? And then we'll end with the other. So either we end with depressing or end with optimistic. What do you want?
Well, let's start depressing then. I don't want to end depressing.
So I meant to bring this up during our last stream, but of course technical difficulties left and right. And hey, guess what? Even if things go wrong now, we're an hour in and it's gone good. So fantastic. But
the technology, we're not sure about the commentary, but the technology's gone wonderfully.
I've been screaming at the mic so much, I better get some good, TikTok videos or whatever out of it.
I've been trying not to talk over you, but man, you've been going on some soliloquies over there.
I'm drinking my really good coffee, which is a lot more caffeinated. That could be it. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was talking about, Vivek over at the Tim Pool show. This is actually Tim Pool coffee. It's actually their Appalachian Nights, and it's really good. I like good black coffee. And I'll bring you over a bag of Sleepy Joe Biden. So I got it as a gag gift, and I was sick in Christmas, so I couldn't give it to anyone. So I'll just bring it to y'all.
Man,
okay, so I was going to bring this up during the last stream.
A little off topic, but the storm caused us to take because we were going to leave the Christmas decorations up, so when y'all got here, it looked just like Christmas. And 65-mile-an-hour wind gusts, we had to take everything down. So inside the house is still going to look Christmassy.
I understand. No, the worst part was we forgot to cover the sandbox before the storm hit, so it got completely flooded.
It takes a while for that to dry out too.
Yeah. All I know is, when a sandbox is actually like filled with water on top of the sand, it rained a lot. Like it wasn't as bad as they said it was going to be, but it was still a lot of rain. Luckily, we're in a good spot.
We found some of the pictures of you as a kid playing in the ditch during the hurricanes. We've got hurricanes type ditches that you could play in when you get here. So.
That'd be great. I could ride my bike next to it like I used to and jump off into the. No, I don't even think I could stand on top of a bike. I would break a leg if I tried that these days. I'll push Junior in a tricycle, then dip him in the ditch. How's that?
Yeah, as long as we got the video going. Gotta go viral.
Talk about going off topic. Oh man, I will be happy to come by this weekend though. That's gonna be great, and then we can fix your lighting, right?
Yeah, fix my lighting, and you still got to tell me what you guys want to eat so I can go grocery shopping.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, so you said you wanted to go depressing first and end optimistic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a little fun with that. And now we're gonna get depressed, and then we're gonna have a little fun at the end.
It's always slightly depressing. It's more of just as we expected at this point, right? So obviously we were talking about the whole Harvard stuff before, talking about how, hey, guess what? The president of Harvard got let go. Fantastic, excellent. Except no, she didn't. No. She might not be the president of Harvard anymore. But Claudine Gay is still set to return to teaching now, to be a professor there, in the political science department, and making over $900,000 a year. So all the people he said
not a bad gig if you can get it.
Apparently so. Apparently you can do anything you want and still keep your job as long as you've been tenured, I guess. You can literally call for the genocide of Jews and apparently still get paid over $900,000 by Harvard and teach the political science department or be a professor in the political science department of all things. Well, if it was like an engineer,
you went completely the other way. She totally broke every rule of ethics of any higher institution of learning. Plagiarism on its own. Forget what was going on with anti-Semitism.
Plagiarism was an attack vector of the right, don't you know? That's what I think it was MSNBC or CNN said.
Yeah, it was the new weapon of Republicans.
Yeah.
But I mean, so let's say a student had done the exact same thing, they would have been expelled.
Yes, 100%.
She gets $1 million a year after being caught.
Here's the thing: people are saying, "How dare you call her a token hire?" How do you not call her a token hire at this point? I mean, really, it's ridiculous. The plagiarism stuff still bad, but I still think someone teaching the political science department who actually said, it's okay to advocate that Palestine should commit a genocide against the Jewish people in Israel. And again, these aren't people saying, hey, I want the war to stop there, and I don't like what Israel does when it comes to how they deal with the Middle East. No, these are people actually chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Mind you, Hamas directly has said they started that slogan to say, Palestine will be free of Jews. It's not saying a free people, it's saying free of is what it means. So they're actively chanting this stuff. They're actively really about hunting down Jews. Like, absolutely insane crap happening over there. Obviously, attacks against Jewish people right now are through the roof in this country, and it's not being committed by the right wing.
None of that matters anymore because the Oakland City Council, they passed a peace resolution and chanted all the Palestinian chants at their meeting. So it's all been solved now. They passed the ceasefire resolution.
I thought I had that pulled up, but I don't think I pulled it up. But yes, San Francisco. Where was I? Come on, there we go. San Francisco, yeah, they passed a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza.
So it's all solved.
Wait, real quick.
It's all solved. I'll tell you what. If you do see the picture of all the people in the room or the video, you can kind of smell the room through the picture. It's like, oh, look at that! Look at that group of freaks.
Oh man, it's even better than that because it's okay. Yep, found it. That didn't take long at all. So this is them celebrating after they get past, and the best part, look at the masks. It's 2024, people, and we're still wearing masks. I mean, Ugh, it just, whew. I take it back. You're definitely right. You could definitely smell that room. Yeah,
They
San
just
Francisco voting 8-3 in support of a ceasefire resolution in Gaza. Time for other cities to follow. This has
because
got to be. Oh my God, Gen Z for change.
really gonna make.
Is that a real thing? Oh my God, it really does look like this might be a real thing. Maybe it's. I can't tell what's satire and what's not anymore.
So my first thought was obviously this is satire. It's not what really happened, but everything I kept seeing proved it out to be true.
No, no, no.
Um,
I mean this organization right here, Gen Z for Change, because that
so
post.
one of the recent statistics that we saw
Oh man,
about Gen Z is that 19% of Gen Z that are going for job interviews are taking parents with them.
are taking. Oh yeah, I saw that taking their parents with them.
So that's what we want. And now you got Democrat governments wanting to lower the age to vote to 16 because that makes so much sense.
So here's the funny thing about that though is
These things are all unrelated, but they tie together.
no, they all do tie together because it's all about the culture the Democrats have created, especially using the educational system as a whole. Of course, the Democrats have always been trying to use the public schools to push forward their agenda. Even back when I was in school, a good long time ago now, which is scary for me to say out loud. But, they made us watch, of course, The Inconvenient Truth, even though almost all that got proven to be completely false. Even if you believe in, man-made climate change, everything in that movie was completely a lie at this point. Guess what? It's 2012, long past, and Florida's still here. All right, never went underwater, or even came close. I mean, I even said this.
But we lost all the polar bears.
Oh yeah, the polar bears that were starving. Polar bear population exploded. That's right. Turns out that actually a warmer environment helped them when it came to their hunting in many cases, as well as the oil refineries in Alaska provided actually a really good area for a lot of nature to come to, it turns out. Nature finds a way. I hate to tell y'all, but y'all need to watch Jurassic Park. Nature finds a way. I love it, the whole climate change. Even if we are increasing the temperature of the Earth, okay, and you believe in evolution, don't you? Animals will adapt. We've had quicker changes in temperatures before all throughout
what I like is it's
history.
hotter now than it was 125,000 years ago. Well, I wonder what we were doing 125,000 years ago that made it so hot. There's this big giant orange ball in the sky that might have a little bit to say about it.
It's always funny because you see the diagram when they took the ice core sample so you can see kind of what the temperature was of Earth, going back just literally millions of years at this point. And what you see is you see it go up and you see it go down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And you see us right now, we're like still just going up at the same rate as we were in the past, few thousand years. Like every few thousand years, it goes high, then goes low. In fact, you can find documents from around the time of the Middle Ages or kind of the Dark Ages in general, where they talk about how suddenly a massive heat wave was hitting, which was causing massive problems for people in the Middle East, while at the same time causing explosive growth in Northern Europe. So we know these things come and go on a period of 1,000 or so years. I'm getting off topic again, but I mean, it needs to be said.
Well, every graph you see that they love to promote, they start from what was our last mini ice age, right? So it does look more.
It's going to go up. Of course, it's going to go up from there. No, here's here's the thing. School was constantly pushing that nonstop, right? And of course, school.
Yeah, well, and this started with Gen Z. So let's talk about the government schools and what they're doing to Gen Z.
Yeah. So, what I was going to say right now is the fact of Gen Z has been told, and frankly, even millennials towards the end, they were constantly told, whenever there's a problem, you do not solve it. It is not your job to solve any problem that comes at you. That was what we were told half time when I was there. And with Gen Z, it's basically all the time now. Where whenever there's a problem, you go to the higher authority who knows more than you do every single time. And I remember every time, I started, I saw my friends getting picked on or me getting picked on because, I was an awkward kid. Okay, I probably deserved it. But anytime any of us tried to actually do something about it, we were the ones held accountable. And it wasn't because of anything we did to stop it. It was because we dared to step out of line with what the school wanted to do. The school, they want to be the ones who control everything. They want you to come to them to fix it, not you to fix it yourself. And I remember I had one case in particular where I had I think it was an assistant principal who told me, haven't you ever heard sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you? And I said something I shouldn't have. I said, well, you're an effing dumb A. And he got mad, and I said, well, why are you so mad? You said words don't hurt. Why are you getting so upset at them? And then I was suspended for, I think, 2 to 3 days. I forget how many. You should ask Mom. She'll probably remember.
And if I'm remembering correctly, after I laughed, I don't think I punished you for that one.
I won't be surprised if you took me out to, like, Buffalo Wild Wings or something.
A couple extra days to barbecue is what that turned out to be.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, is that for the most part, the schools constantly tell kids, whenever you have a problem, you're not the one who needs to solve it. We're the ones who need to solve it. And guess what? Those problems never get solved. It's a great analogy, actually, for government, to be perfectly honest. I mean, when's the last time a principal or a teacher has really ever stopped something like bullying, right? I mean, it's never happened. In fact, it gets worse, just like when the government gets involved with any problem. So maybe we should have been taking a different lesson from this. But Gen Z's been exposed to this to a harsher extent, right? You know, when I was there, we had the standard liberal teachers who pushed stuff like climate change and, of course, maybe occasionally dipped into the economic policies saying that, well, you know, we might need to have more government, you know, maybe we should have more taxes, a higher tax, you know, ceiling and stuff like that. That's as far as we really got with it. Gen Z, on the other hand, is being pushed to straight up say, no, you need to castrate yourself. No, you need to endorse straight up communism. No, these people who are, you know, against you, they're not just people you're disagreeing with. No, these are actual fascists that you need to fight. It is insane what they're pushing in schools these days compared to what it was when I was in school. And again, it wasn't great when I was in school already.
Aren't you thankful that I was pushing good literature, and
Road to
great
Serfdom
economic theory on you
Road to
from a very
Serfdom.
early age?
Road to Serfdom probably did more to turn me more into, I would call myself a small L libertarian, because I have some issues still to go full libertarian, but that probably did more to start getting me to go into that line of thinking than anything else, actually. That was a very, very good book recommendation. Obviously, again, I've been rereading through Free to Choose as well, and still excellent. And I got
the video series that actually was on PBS back in the day. That's available through YouTube, so you can kind of go in there. And if you don't follow the Mises Institute for some good work from von Mises back in the day, I would recommend that too.
I forget which one it is. It was also a John Maxwell book that you recommended to me. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was almost all of it was basically about taking responsibility and actually just getting stuff done on your own half the time, and just because, you know, all of his stuff is more of the attitude changing and stuff like that, and that was also a huge factor to it as well.
Probably today matters. Probably today matters if it was about getting stuff done.
Probably, because that's usually one of your go-to ones you recommend early on for people a lot of times. So that's probably it. But of course, you know, schools, they would never recommend a John Maxwell book or a Zig Ziglar book or anything that actually could be beneficial to the attitude of people who are reading it. I know people want to crap on like the self-help stuff, and there's a lot of BS self-help stuff out there for sure, 100%. But the reality is when it comes to a lot of that stuff, it is actually very effective. And why aren't we teaching kids how to think differently? Why aren't we teaching them how to stay in a positive mindset and move forward?
When you're teaching them what to think, it's impossible to find time to teach them how to think.
So there's a thing in one of the book series we both like, actually, where Red Rising, fantastic book. But the main character is talking to a child, and the child says, like, oh, I'm not allowed to use any technology. I'm not allowed to listen to the news. And the dad comes in and says she can listen to what other people have to think about issues when she has an ability to think about those issues on her own. And so the entire time, the only thing she was allowed to read was, Aristotle and, of course, Socrates, and a lot of the Roman stuff, because it's sci-fi, but they love Roman stuff. Of course, they end up being bad guys, but I really like that bit there, because they were honorable bad guys, right? They were very honorable. But I really like that bit there, because there is truth to it, right? That right now we send kids to places where they're told what to think again and again and again, and we never teach them how to think. We never teach them critical thinking skills. And as far as I'm concerned, philosophy and history especially should be taught every single year from kindergarten practically all the way up to 12th grade. And you should be, frankly, reading more of it even after you're past that point in life. It is probably the most important topic to cover. I am more than happy with you missing trigonometry if it means you pick up a course on philosophy. As long as you know basic algebra, I'm pretty happy with that, actually.
Just don't skip history. We got to put more emphasis on history and civics.
And actual history is the problem,
Right.
because even
Right.
I mean, I got lucky. My two history teachers in school, they leaned definitely on the right, and they had no problem calling out, yeah, well, the book's definitely wrong about that, and they'll pull up some R sources and say, well, here's the actual right thing about it. I know one of them in particular, we got to the Cold War section, and he was very much that, no, the book is dead wrong about this. Here's the reality of the Cold War. This is the reality of the Soviet Union. There were mass murderers that were worse than the Nazis, right? Which is totally true, right? If Hitler would blush if he saw what the Soviets did, right? Or God forbid what Mao did. Which is funny because, I know a lot of people want to say the left is the real fascist and all this stuff. No. The left isn't following anything from Germany for the most part. What they're really following is China. They're following the Chinese system to a T. Mao's revolution is being played out in front of us in its entirety right now. They're separating people. I think Mao's revolution had the Reds like in the blacks, where it was, oh, they're the good people, and then these are going to be the bad people who are dissident against the government. They're already doing that to us right now, separating MAGA out and, of course, trying to find ways to persecute them. They're already trying to sit there and indoctrinate the kids to a point where they won't disagree with them, not ever, right? They're really playing out the entirety of Mao's revolution to the best of their abilities.
Their infiltration of schools and the
Yes.
implementation of government schools was the biggest. It was the biggest boon to United States communists that there could ever have been.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They are communist. They are worse than they're worse than 1900s Germany, right? They are totally worse than that. And people always say, oh, well, this person's literally Hitler. No, these people are worse than that. These are communists. All right, and communists are worse than fascists. I don't know where this idea came out that, oh, I can go to Walmart and see someone wearing literally Soviet earrings. Yeah, I mean, God forbid if someone walked in there with a swastika. I mean, obviously, people should be repulsed by that, 100%, but they should also be repulsed by the woman wearing literally a symbol of a country that committed a bigger massacre than the Nazis ever even dreamed of.
And if only we could have, just to prove it to them, if we could only have, a part of the world that was free and then right up against it was communism together. If only there was just a way that we could have that.
In regards to some of this, one of the most important books I really think someone should read, I'm not even sure if you've read it yet, is Ordinary Men. Did you ever read this?
Mm-hmm.
This was a book, and just so people understand, it is the first-hand accounts of the people who committed the Holocaust. The first-hand accounts of people who went out and rounded up the Jews. The first-hand accounts of everything they did and how they even justified it in their own minds. There was points in this book that literally, when I was going through, I would get through a paragraph and literally just have to sit the book down and just walk away for a while because I was getting so upset at reading it. Because in many ways, it's like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, the Jews outnumbered us thousands to one, but none of them ever really fought back, so it made it pretty easy to round them up." And I'm like, why did no one fight back? But it is one of those things where I definitely had to sit back and wait. But the whole principle of the book is it shows how ordinary men over time can become monsters, right? And what we're seeing play out a lot in this country is just that, where you have people who we might know who are traditional liberals, right? And I may not traditional liberal in the sense that we would call traditional liberals, but as in just kind of the 90s era liberals, right? Who would say, I think you're wrong. I don't think you're evil. And all of a sudden we've seen them go completely the other way where they say, you're not only wrong, you're intentionally wrong because you want to hurt other people. They have been completely converted over to a cult-like obsession with their ideology to the point where anyone who disagrees with it, they are worse than subhuman at this point to some of them. I guarantee if they legalized the attacking people in the streets who they disagree with, they would do it in a heartbeat. They would have no qualms about it.
Cult is the right word because it is a religion. It's become a religion on that side of of the fence. But
Yeah.
the incrementalism we're talking about started with school and how they just the left incrementally took it over, and that was a big part of the Communist Manifesto. That was a big
Yes.
part of the plan, and it was one. It turns out that was a very important plank of their plan to take over, and it's worked incredibly well. And I'm not sure how we turn it around.
But it's
But
also, to be honest though,
that incrementalism also showed up in politics because it
yes.
started somewhat innocently with Republicans want to kill old people by taking away Social Security because back in
Yeah.
your great grandmother hated Ronald Reagan because she was convinced that he hated old people and was going to take away their Social Security because that was the way that was the way the campaign went in 80. And so when he was shot in 81, I don't remember exact words, but it was something like, well, I hate that it happened, but I'm not going to shed a tear about it. So she was convinced that he wanted to kill her because of the ads that had been run and the things that were going on. But that's that. It probably started before that because we know that the elections like Jefferson and Adams, that was incredibly nasty. The things
Well,
that
that's
were
why
going on.
I've
So,
said,
so
yeah, I've
nasty
said for a
elections.
while that.
But what's happened here is they've just taken it to cult-like status. They took they took what was an election time thing where you said these things but you didn't really mean it, to now you say it and not only do you mean it, but you want to actually do something about it.
And not only that, but obviously when people actually have attacked like Republicans, when they started rioting, burning down buildings, all this sort of stuff,
Or shooting
who
up
bailed
softballs.
them out? Who went over there to their, who went over there and said, "Hey, keep at it." Oh, that's right. It was people like Kamala Harris. It was people like people who were working for the Joe Biden administration, who literally was giving them money so they continue to go around burning down more cities. What was it? Oh God, what's her name? Senator from California. She was like, when they go low,
you're thinking
we kick them or
Maxine
something like
Waters.
that. Or
You're thinking Maxine Waters, she's House.
oh, okay, yeah. And of course, you say, we need to make them uncomfortable. Get in their faces. Make sure they know they're unwanted. Like, you insane? Like, do you want a civil war? Because this is how you get a civil war. And we're getting to a point where it's going to be hard to avoid one.
It's how you get Rand Paul attacked by a neighbor. It's how you get Steve Scalise shot at a softball game.
Oh, they never talk about that. They'll blame Trump saying his rhetoric is what caused January 6th. Are we going to say Bernie Sanders' rhetoric caused the shooting of Scalia? Why aren't we holding Bernie Sanders and hauling him in front of courts over that? Come on, if we're going to play this game, let's play this game. Let's play this game because guess what? The majority of these type of shootings and the majority of these type of attacks come from communists. Even the ones they claim are Republican orientated came from communists. The one, I think it was a congresswoman who was shot during the McCain era.
Yeah,
they blamed Nancy Pelosi,
Gifford.
not Nancy Pelosi. They blamed Sarah Palin on, but that person had a manifesto that said they were a communist. What it was is they didn't like the Democrats.
But what it was because Sarah Palin had an ad with a bullseye on it.
Oh yeah, how dare? Yeah. Of course.
Because we're targeting certain seats that we want to win. You can't use triggering language like that.
Speak of triggering language, this is hysterical. We watched Aladdin the other day, and as it started up, it said the descriptions and views of this time period are not our views today. This may contain derogatory descriptions of Arabic people and da 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 da. And I was like, are you kidding me? If all of the Arabs were like Aladdin, that would be a great place. What are you talking about? It's like, this is a great description of them. But what it is they do stuff like he gets caught stealing and they say we're going to take his hand. But they still do that today. That's still a punishment there. How is this bad?
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm quite ready yet, but I might would lean toward let's bring that one over. That'll put an end to some of these robberies I see on X every day.
I mean, what I'll also put into it is, a little thing called the Second Amendment.
That only applies in certain states.
Yes. Second Amendment is not a federal protection, apparently. It's only a state protection these days. Only if the state agrees to it is it a protection for you. God, again, do never go to New York with a gun. That's for dang sure. They want to, you could do whatever you want, burn down whatever building you want. But if you just carry a gun for self-defense, you're screwed. Actually, recently happened. A woman was being attacked on a subway station. Guy shot the person who was attacking her. He gets arrested because he was illegally carrying a gun, which, frankly, I say constitutional carry is legal across the country. It's just that it's being infringed upon. That is the reality of it. It's already legal to carry wherever you want, whenever you want. It's that the states infringe upon that right. That's the reality. Now, admittedly, as far as I'm concerned, the Constitution protects your right to own whatever weapons you could ever want ever in your life. However,
so wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you saying we should be able to own a cannon?
the Second Amendment it didn't protect your right to own a cannon, except when Thomas Jefferson seemed confused when people thought it didn't give him the right to own a cannon. No. Here's the funny thing.
You could own a whole ship full of them. That's what they wanted from you.
Here's the thing that I always find kind of funny, because people think that when I say stuff like that of, you want people to own nukes, you want people to own bioweapons, you want people to own explosives. Actually, no, I don't. I'm okay with us making those illegal as long as we go through the proper process of a constitutional amendment to do so. If we want to talk about what we don't want people to have access to as individuals, we can have that conversation. It has to be done through the Constitution, however. The Constitution says we have the right to bear arms. If you want to preference which ones you can't arm, or which arms you can't bear, then you need to go through and actually pass an amendment. And I don't think it would be that hard to get a bunch of people in favor saying, hey, you know what, let's pass a constitutional amendment saying people can't own nukes. I think that would be an easy one that you could get passed.
When they wrote it, James, they weren't talking about weapons of war. They were talking about muskets. That just happened to be used in war.
Well, they didn't have guns that could shoot more than one bullet at a time, except for rudimentary Gatling guns, as well as some rudimentary revolvers that were being created at that same time period, as well as when we did start getting to, automatic weapons, you could buy them out of a Sears catalog and have them just literally mailed to your house. People literally were buying Tommy guns from Sears and having them mailed through the United States Postal Service to their doorstep, and we didn't have nearly the type of mass shootings we have today. And again, this is a fully automatic machine gun. This is an actual, you could buy actual assault rifles back then. Not, an AR. The actual assault rifles.
We had gun racks in the truck with guns in it.
Yes.
Everywhere you went.
Well, I guess you were still the generation where sometimes people would drive to school with a shotgun in the back of their truck.
I carried mine because how else are you going to go hunting after school with your buddy? I'm not making that up.
Can you imagine that today? Can you imagine a teenager pulling up to school with a gun in his in a truck gun rack like that?
Or how about riding our dirt bikes down to the creek to shoot snakes?
Oh man!
Catch redfin and shoot snakes off the railroad trestle.
Well, let's always end this on some good news. How's that?
Shooting snakes off the railroad trestle ain't good news. That was fun.
But we can no longer do that. That's the sad part. I can't.
Yeah,
Junior at 8, when Junior's 12, 13, I can't give him a little 22 rat shot pistol and say, hey, go shoot snakes. I won't be allowed to do that.
Not where you live.
I might still do it, but. Hey, I don't know. How old was I when I shot my first gun? Probably 8 or so, maybe 6, 7, somewhere in that range. 6 to 8 somewhere.
Well, your first deer kill was 10, so probably 8.
Yeah. So it was like a little 410 shotgun, whatever. To be honest, probably when they turn about 6 is when I probably will allow them to shoot one. Maybe not freehand it like I was, but at 8. But at 6, maybe at least let them shoot. But, I plan on definitely getting them in early because, again, we know some people who didn't get their kids into stuff like that early. And, it's important to teach your kids that stuff. Especially with a lack of hunters around, we need to kill more deer.
You had a few before you were freehanded.
Do what?
We shot together a few times before you freehanded. I didn't
no, but I'm saying
right off the bat.
No, not right off the bat, but after a couple shots, you were like, all right, put the can on the tree limb. All right, now shoot it. Then again, a 410 with bird shot, I think even if I had shot you, it would have been more of, damn it.
At 8, you couldn't pull the hammer back, so I had to be right there with you to pull the hammer back. It was a hammer gun.
God, I like that gun. That was a nice gun. It's over at Granddad's house, isn't it?
Yeah. Before we got to where he couldn't walk, he was still using it to rabbit hunt because it was so light. But it's a single shot hammer. If you could shoot a rabbit with that, he's a much better shot than me.
Hey, that'd be a fun gun to go out and shoot snakes with, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, snakes, rats, whatever.
Or raccoons, after what I saw out there at the farm last time. So let's go to kind of an optimistic story, though, here over in Ohio. I'm not sure. Have you heard about what happened in Ohio?
Let me think. Oh
Not
yeah, yeah,
football.
yeah. The veto override.
Yes. So what's crazy about this story is they passed a bill basically saying, basically you can't castrate your child. Seems like a very simple bill to pass. And I think tied to it as well was something about men competing in women's sports in schools on top of that. So that's not really mentioned here, but I think that's also part of the bill. But for the main part of the bill is saying you can't castrate your children, right? You can't chemically castrate them. You can't give them puberty blockers. You can't disfigure them for life.
Genital mutilation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. All very normal stuff. Even again, as a small L libertarian, I do think there's probably some things you shouldn't allow parents to do, and castrating underage children is not is definitely one of those things that you should not be doing. So the House in Ohio, they passed a bill saying, of course, that you can't do these things. The Republican governor vetoed the bill. The Republican governor. Yes, exactly.
Republican.
And so it went back, and guess what? The House overrided his veto 65-28. Absolutely fantastic. Because I remember seeing the story last week about him overriding putting the veto into effect. And that was my original plan to actually put probably for today, because it happened, I think it was on Thursday or Friday is when I saw the story. Seeing this though, again, good news. We have some competent people over in Ohio actually. So the funny thing about it was during this, and I might need to try to pull this one up as well. Did you see the people rioting in the Ohio Capitol?
What you don't mean an insurrection, do you?
Oh yeah. No, these were mostly peaceful protesters. Sorry. Unfortunately, there's more comments here. I don't have the video pulled up. So basically, a bunch of people who were activists were rioting in the Ohio Capitol after they were trying to debate this bill, whether or not they should override the veto.
Hey, before you get too far, talking about needing IDs, I'd like to know how many of them are actually from Ohio.
Oh yeah, right. I think we saw a lot of that in a lot of different places all across the country there for a while, where people were going from state to state when it came to a lot of Black Lives Matter rioting, just because they wanted just to get some action in, I guess. In fact, actually, there was even proof of them.
And there was paid. Some were getting paid to go.
Some were getting paid. So that there was people paying for buses, like just buses full of these people going to different cities. And I think that was a big part that was happening in Florida that I think actually DeSantis was talking about trying to put a stop to during that time period. And again, good on DeSantis for saying that you can't block roads over there, which you don't see happening. While over in Manhattan, what happened recently, obviously, is they blocked one of the bridges. You know, really good way to get your point across, I guess. But of course, I posted that short of me saying that it's the equivalent of being held hostage, and some people on TikTok said, it's not even close to the same thing. It's just peaceful, disobedience and all that BS, because, people are idiots. But then again, there's also some people who are getting on you for the short we posted of you saying that, the economy's doing great under Biden, isn't it? And the housing market's great under Biden right now, isn't it? And people trying to give you crap saying, well, Biden's not to blame for any of that. Despite the fact when you have over 300,000 illegal immigrants coming in December alone, of course, property value is going to skyrocket because guess what? They need houses as well. Supply and demand, basic economic 101.
What I love is he's not responsible for that. But then the good parts of it, they turn right around in the same sentence, the same run-on unreadable sentence, and that he is responsible for what they want him to be responsible for.
Oh, exactly. Which admittedly everyone does during their presidents. Let's be honest. Like there was a bunch of Trump supporters who did the same thing with Trump in a lot of ways too. But it's
so this is not on your topic of this veto override, but they were promoting, since we're on this line of discussion, they were promoting the wonderful jobs number in December.
Oh yeah, I saw.
And when you dig into the wonderful jobs number, there was so much bad in it. It was terrible. It was like 1 million less full-time jobs, and all the gain was part-time second jobs, Uber, all the different gigs. And they went back and downed every single month of the year. They over reported every single month of the year, and 400,000 less jobs. So are you going to tell me that it's a coincidence or an accident or it's not somehow planned that you miss 11 out of 11 months, and you know for a fact this wonderful December number is going to be downwardly revised to make them go 12 for 12. You're going to tell me there's not collusion with the media and this bull crap that's going on.
What's the old quote
if this one goes out there and somebody wants to challenge the numbers, look deeper into the numbers. Stop looking at the headlines. The deep into the numbers were bad, and they did go back in and revise downward every single flipping month for over.
I guess you're not gonna convince me it wasn't intentional. Because what's that old saying? The lie travels halfway around the world before the truth even's put on its shoes.
You're right.
I mean, everyone's gonna hear the lie that jobs numbers were great, and then when they have to retract all that, no one ever sees the retractions. No one ever sees the corrections. None that ever gets seen. Mostly because obviously the media companies aren't going to sit there and post on every social media site, we were wrong. That's not what they're going to do, right? They're going to have the article up, so technically it's a retraction, but no one's ever going to actually see it.
Man, Vivek was jumping on them too about their lies. He was pointing to the media at one of his recent hits. So you're telling me that you didn't promote a lie of the Russia collusion hoax? Why? Well, raise your hand if you think that was the truth, or if you think it was wrong that you lied for so long. Well, we can't do that. That's not what we're here for. Okay. And then he just kept going down the list of all the lies.
The thing, I love when they go like when they say, "Well, we need to get back on topic," and it's like, well, they're the ones who are like getting off topic, accusing him of being like a secret Nazi and all this crazy crap, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and it's just like they keep hitting him on it was an inside job. You got to quit spreading that lie. So, well, there's video evidence.
Yes. Like, what else do you call the police? Literally allowing people in. So here's actually
and escorting.
So I just pulled up his tweet that you're talking about because again it has a full statement there, but it's like CNN crap news network lied to you about Trump Russia collusion hoax, COVID origin, Hunter Biden laptop ahead of 2020. That's a huge one right there too, because the FBI was directly involved in spreading that information that it wasn't true. FBI directly caught telling at that point Twitter and Facebook that is a fake news story and it needs to be removed, even though they knew it to be true. You want to talk about election interference? You want to tell me the election isn't rigged? Guess what? You don't have to believe fake votes were ever casted. All you need to believe is what the FBI said they did to say the election was rigged. Intentionally getting involved with social media companies to have people banned for talking about actual issues that go against the candidate they want. All right. That is probably one of the biggest problems, strictly due to, of course, the FBI. Oh, and speaking of the FBI, the Whitmore kidnapping plot, obviously. Yeah. CNN lied about that. Turns out, no.
You got to call it what it was. That was a fednapping. That was not a kidnapping. That
it was like 8 of the 11 people were all feds, and then the remaining people basically all said, we never really agreed to anything. They started spouting all this crazy stuff, and we were like, yeah, man, sure, I guess. Like, that's... And multiple of them got let off.
That is
and the only ones who didn't get let off are the ones who took the plea deal. So even they didn't ever got trial.
That is the epitome of the Spider-Man meme.
Dude, oh yeah. That's why I love whenever like the FBI and the ATF accidentally catch one another, which has happened multiple times as well. But there's another one, the Covington Catholic student the defamation. That was a great one where the student's just sitting there getting harassed by this insane Native American dude banging a drum in his face, and he's just smiling. And the CNN starts talking about how this evil, racist, white kid from a Catholic school was harassing Native Americans.
Have you ever seen a more punchable face?
Yes. And then, dude, there was people working for MSNBC who posted a meme about putting him through a wood chipper. I mean, just insanity. Of course, truth of January 6th, and the list goes on. I mean, again, I know we keep harping on this. I want to see this from DeSantis too. I want him to be as active calling this crap out. I want all of them to be active calling this crap out. Even Trump isn't as active as Vivek is when it comes to calling some of this stuff out. Right?
Yeah, Trump has
remained more quiet during this election process, frankly, as he probably should, because he puts his foot in his mouth way too many times.
He doesn't have to be out there because he's so far ahead, supposedly. But you can't tell me he hadn't slowed down. He's slowed down. He's lost a step.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. If Trump was 10 years younger, I would be really gun-ho for him, actually. But at his age now, and let's just be real, his age is... It's a reality that as you get that age, that it starts slowing down up there, right? I mean, obviously, he's a lot sharper than Biden. But, I mean, a potato is sharper than Biden. So, I mean, what does that really say?
This is sharper than Biden.
Yeah, yes. So it's
what was the comedian? I forget which comedian it was, but he said his favorite part about every Biden speech was how at the end he turns into a Roomba.
Oh yeah, just
Yeah, which was pretty funny.
whose hand
The
do I shake? Whose hand do I
the
shake?
behind you, is that like a miniature Death Star, or is it like a lightsaber training tool?
Oh no, yeah, that's a miniature Death Star over there from when I was a kid. Yeah, it has like these little like tiny little guys here. It opens up to the entire thing and the hangar bay and everything. It's actually really neat. It was in that box of stuff I grabbed from the house. I think there's also a Y-wing next to it, as well as some like statues of like Luke, Leia, and Darth Vader too. And of course, I got the AT-AT all the way up there, and over there, AT-ST down there.
Nerd.
I mean, I have a helmet of the Master Chief up there, as well as multiple Halo statues as well, and multiple books. I mean, I ain't high. I have a Star Trek poster up there from when he fought the Gorn. Come on.
Nerd.
Hey, this is my space in the house. It's the only place I get to put my stuff up. That was our agreement. I was like, you decorate the house however you want. I just want my space to put some of my stuff up.
Well, I guess I'm partly to blame for that nerd like existence that you
Yeah,
found, but
you know,
don't
from
know
the
that
moment you
was
sat
trying
me
to.
in your lap and had me play Half-Life with you, I was gone.
I just let. What's great is I just let you shoot, so you're responsible for killing everybody while I move
Yeah.
this around into position to kill everybody.
I was like 7 years old, 6, 7 years old, like just shooting, you know, aliens and Marines and stuff like that. It was hey, you know what? For a while there though, it got me really into science. So that was a positive. Which then led to Star Trek.
Descent was the best.
Do what?
The Descent, the one that had like the hovercraft thing
Oh
going in and out of
yeah,
the mazes.
yeah. That thing
one.
that I tried that out again. That made me dizzy. I don't know. You talk about how you get dizzy now, like whenever you've tried like
I can't
a
play
newer
VR.
game.
Yeah, I can't play VR.
I do not know how you could play Descent and not a simple VR game. I don't understand that at all. Descent is way. However, I do have Descent in VR.
Ugh. I couldn't even play Half-Life in VR. I felt like I was going to vomit just walking up and down the steps and standing on the edge of the building at the top.
Hey, meanwhile, I'm over here playing games. So I'm like shooting portals here and jumping through and flying across the map. And oh man, I love VR stuff. How do we get talking about this?
I saw the Death Star in the background. I couldn't remember if that was actually.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and also your whenever we get the rest of the material for your computer, you know, your 3060 GPU is over there too. So
Man,
right next to my 3080
We'll talk
box.
about that while you're here.
Do what?
We'll talk about that while you're here.
Do you want me to bring stuff?
If you got the stuff, bring the stuff.
I got a decent amount of it.
Yeah. Bring the stuff.
And
Bring
today
stuff,
on Tech Media or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, we could do a whole episode on lighting
Building-
setup and
building a
a
PC and
because with the other podcast, it's we've had some struggles, and part of it is still because it's not my internet. The internet's been actually performing pretty well.
hey,
It's
all,
my
all you need at
CPU.
this all you really need at this point is a motherboard and CPU, and I got basically tons of spare parts from other PCs and stuff like that or just all my old parts basically are still really good quality that I can just send right to it. So
Yeah,
that mean all you really need to get together I think is like $300-400 and it's basically ready to go at that point.
ring it up and we'll figure it out then.
Awesome. So I guess you want to end with that? You got any closing statements?
Well, I don't know. We covered a lot of stuff tonight. That was long. It was fun, and I didn't have to watch the second half of that stupid ball game that went real south. So you saved me from that travesty.
You just say it's fun because you got to see me get all upset.
Yeah, you did. You did get on a few rants. That's always funny.
I can't help it. When I talk about immigration and Nikki Haley, man, I swear.
When you kind of come up and the shoulders go back and the hands come out, it's something's about to go down.
The worst part, I will throw just one more thing out there for the closing thing. That there's an easy solution. There is an easy solution to all the immigration problems. All it is, you gotta listen to this great modern thinker, Ocasio-Cortez, who says that if you want there to stop being illegal immigration, just legalize them. I don't know how we didn't think about this before. If we didn't want that be flooded with illegal immigrants, just stop saying it's illegal. What do you know? Everything is now solved. We are now good to go.
There's so many inappropriate things I could say. Again, I'm going to try to be my best self and not say some. But
yeah, there's definitely tons of inappropriate things you could about AOC. Some of them not so bad to say, or some of them kind of flattering.
So dumb.
The Alex Stein over there.
So dumb.
By the way, I was saying earlier, I was drinking the whole Tim Pool coffee, really good coffee. They just came out with the Alex Stein one called Prime Time 99 with Alex Stein. It has like 2 times coffee because that dude's a lunatic. But I like going through like all the conservative coffee brands and like buying them. Like a channel called The Quartering has his own like coffee brand. Coffee is what it's called. Has really good stuff. Adam Krigler has Krigler coffee, which is actually I think so far my favorite still. And then Tim Pool has of course his coffee brand. I've got to buy coffee regardless. Why not buy from conservatives?
And you got to get them early though, because sometimes they turn left on you after you start buying their coffee.
Oh, like Black Rifle.
Black Rifle.
I will say we went by Black Rifle Coffee when we left Pigeon Forge. They got great customer service, probably on par, maybe even better than Chick-fil-A. Like it was good quality service.
So did you watch the video of the floods in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg yesterday?
Insane.
Yeah, I've never seen it like that for sure. And I've seen some pretty good flash floods in those mountains.
Margaritaville's theme at that place is, a storm coming through and giant margarita being filled by the rainwater. So, I mean, it got close to being filled by just flood water over there.
Yeah, it was rough, man. Can you imagine being up on the mountain, hiking or something when that amount of water came through? We
came close to imagining that in Zion, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, Bryce too with the thunderstorm that was rolling through when we were.
Got some great pictures.
You got one picture of the lightning, but the 100-mile stretch I did on the AT in Virginia, the first day there was flash floods going through that day. The trail looked a lot like
yes, you sent those pictures.
You couldn't tell the waterfall from the trail. It was so much water coming.
How did you not get massive blisters everywhere after walking through that?
I had good socks. I mean, you get good darn
those REI socks are amazing.
And good shoes, but
because I used those when I did the Grand Canyon hike, and like I had no problems whatsoever. And we hiked what, it was 12 miles in Bryce before that too. Like it was almost double digits in Bryce.
12 was just one of the hikes. We did closer to 20 at Bryce before we went. And then we hiked the North Rim before we went down.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. So we probably did 8. We did 8 miles probably just around the North Rim before we even started the hike.
And, it was all of that extra hiking in Bryce that made it so difficult to do the rim to rim. That was my problem. If we hadn't done Bryce, I would have just flown by it. Wouldn't have been a problem.
We should do it. We should do a hiking show one night and just kind of reminisce over some of those pictures.
Hey, or we just take the GoPros out and just actually record hikes.
Man,
I need a third YouTube channel. Let's do it.
And I need an Angel's Landing fix.
Oh yeah, hey, I do have a video of one of our Angel Landings hike or Angel Landings hike.
Angel's Landing.
Yes, I can't get it right now. It's late, okay.
But when I saw the floods there in Gatlinburg, I was thinking about the Virginia hike, and I would have stayed on one side because it was roaring through. And it was like, and I needed to get to the other side, but I was like, there's no way I'm going across that. I'll get washed down that cliff. And this through hiker come up behind me and he's like, well, you're not going to sit here. We're going across. and it was kind of like at Angel's Landing. You remember we were sitting there the first time we did it?
About to say.
And it was starting to rain and we're like, well, this is dangerous. We shouldn't do this at all. We were trying to talk ourselves out of it. And then people we didn't know from Adam came by and said, come on, go with us. And we were like, okay. Well, that's the same thing I did with that dude.
Wusses in front of strangers.
That's the same thing I do with that dude.
Like,
I'm really subjected to peer pressure, I think.
It's fun.
Susceptible is the word I was looking for.
We hiked up Angel's Landing because we didn't want to like wusses, but then on the way down, some like girls were playing with the tarantula, and I said, "Screw it, I'm looking like a wuss. I ain't touching that damn thing."
Yeah, I was trying to help you get hooked up there.
No, no, not. Listen, I will forego that. I am not touching no dang tarantula. I will. You give me a. I'll hold a. One of those giant freaking pythons around my neck, all that kind of stuff for pictures, like I did for one of the events I was at. But I will not. Oh man, no. I'll start screaming like the guy from Home Alone. Okay.
So rattlesnakes, tarantulas, porcupines. We've seen a lot of stuff on these hikes. Bears.
I we've spent a lot of time in that part of the world.
Ready to go back. I'm missing it.
Yeah, so that's how we end this episode with. Everyone, if you ever get a chance, if you're ever near Vegas, don't worry so much about Vegas itself. Okay, go over to the Grand Canyon, go over to Bryce, go to Zion, take a couple days out there.
Go to Red Rock. It's only 15 minutes away,
and it's beautiful out there too. And you and Kat even did the 5K out there once, right?
I did a 10. She did a 5.
Of course you did the 10.
And I did a half marathon through Red Rock the day before.
And wasn't that still during the summer?
It was in the fall.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't quite as hot, but I've been.
Yeah, right. We did the rim to rim in the summer like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, well, but still, it was below freezing during the night at Bryce.
Yeah, but
it was June.
What they call it?
It was 30. It was 38. It was 38 at the top of the North Rim when we started, and 130 at the bottom.
I was about to say we got to Phantom Ranch, like down at the bottom near to Colorado, and the temperature was topped off around like 120, 130.
Yeah, when we first got down, it was only 108 or something. It wasn't
only
when we first got down.
All I know is that ranger came up and said, "Yeah, just sit in the water over there. Where you feel like you need to or not."
He didn't say sit. He said you lay your whole body in there.
Yeah.
You get your whole body in that water, and it's gonna make you
lay in that stream. And he's like, you'll feel hungry after that too. If you're not already hungry, you'll start feeling hungry after that. And what do you know? We laid in there. It was freezing cold, and I got out and went, I actually feel a lot better now. Let's make some food.
We had our special Thanksgiving dinner with those Mountain House turkey and dressing.
They are so good though. I have like I think it's like 4 weeks worth of emergency food. That's basically that kind of food. And it's funny because if we ever got to a bad situation where we actually needed it, I think we'd be eating better than what we're eating now. Because those like turkey and mashed potato dinner packs were delicious. No, and the ones I got down here come with desserts too.
Oh, I know. And the of course the difference is when you've hiked 20 miles and you're just exhausted, you could probably anything is going to be pretty good.
Hey, we climbed up that South Rim, and I remember I had that salad there. I was like, oh my God, thank goodness. And like waiting for the real food to come in. Because I was dying on the South Rim up there. That one, whew.
And those, the hamburgers are the same one you get at every national park. But that particular
overdone
hamburger
and
was
not
like
even
the
sure if it's
greatest
actually
one
beef.
Yeah. Well, I think we both got the bison burgers there.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. So overly lean to the point where it's really not that great.
Right. And overcooked because, you got to get it to the government food safety standards.
Thank you, government.
But no, you can pretty much eat anything on some of those days, and it's going to be good. Like I think one of the greatest things I've ever eaten in my life was just a bag of Mountain House mac and cheese that I mixed some bacon jerky into with it. It was like so good. But I went like 24 miles that day, and I was just dying. I was beat.
I forget who it was. I feel like it was like some like military dude or something like that once said, exhaustion will give you an amazing palate or something like that.
It intensifies the flavors somehow.
I'll say I think actually what the real quote was, the best seasoning is exhaustion or something like that. Actually,
that makes sense. That's a better quote. Whether that's right or not, that's a better quote.
If it turns out that's not a real quote, then I just said it, and that's a great quote to go by, okay?
Take credit for it.
Do you ever have that problem with your speaking gigs where you're like, I'm not sure if this quote came from someone and I should credit them or if I actually thought of it on my own?
It really is, because I tell everybody my best thoughts were generally first thought by somebody else, and that's why we all are, because it's not like we're all sitting here just creating these sayings that you think we come up with. So I have done that, not intentionally. And the other thing I do, what I've learned though, is you can attribute a quote to the most commonly known person that it's attributed to. If you look deep, they
It's
didn't
usually
say it
not.
first
Yeah,
either.
usually they got from someone.
Yeah, and so I don't really know. John Maxwell one time he was up teaching and he said and he could tell we were all in there just writing notes, and he's like, I can already tell you guys are ready to go out and teach this. He goes, just do me a favor. He goes, the first time you teach it, just give me the credit. Say John Maxwell says. He goes, after a couple of times you can change it to it has been said. I've heard it said. He goes, and then after that, you can just start to go, I've been thinking. So, but at least
That's when
go
you just
through the
rephrase it
process.
slightly, right?
You're right.
No, I did a speaking gig. It was a giant Hispanic Republican group, and it was like it was a crazy gig because of a big room of people, and I have a translator there for some of the stuff too because they spoke some English, but were also a little off at times, and really fun crowd. I absolutely loved it, and they were taking pictures with me afterwards. It was probably one of the best speeches I've ever given. Mostly because they probably couldn't understand what I was saying, but
That helps.
there was one point though I remember where I said something because we were trying to encourage people to vote for Tom Tillis, and despite the fact, of course, he's kind of a rhino, unfortunately, he did do something recently pretty good. But I'm not going to go off the weeds too much with that because we already are. But I said something, set up a quote. I forget exactly what it was, but at the end of it, I saw them going, "Ooh, yeah," and like someone started writing it down, whatever. And I went, by the way, that one's probably not from me. I was like, that was from. I was like, I know it's from someone. I just can't remember at the top of my head, but that one's not from me. Because like I knew I got it from somewhere, but I couldn't figure it out. But they were all like so impressed. But I was like, cover my bases.
That's where you throw in. I've heard it said.
Yes.
Just to try to cover the base. I've
I
had
will
a few.
say-
I've had a few that I think were original that through the years because I've been in front of crowds a lot. So if there wasn't some original, that'd be pretty bad.
I will
But,
say, I think at some point I need to get back doing the political speeches because that was fun. I will say that. Actually speaking from a crowd about politics, and you think I get overly energetic sometimes here.
It wasn't generic politics. You were picking specific issues that were important to the crowd too, and that's always fun because you're talking.
That
about
also
something they care about.
got me in trouble though with the nonprofit I was working with. Because I was changing up their talking points because their talking points were terrible for the groups we were talking to. It was what was it? Like, we gotta talk about how a pathway to citizenship might actually be a proper thing. I went, no, we're not talking about that one bit. These people will hate that. I'm not going to mention that at all. We're gonna breeze over that in the intro, saying that I know some of you might feel this way, but real quick, look at these nice things he's done. Which, guess what, worked out a lot better because when they had the questions at the end, I didn't have to deal with the endless onslaught of people complaining about it like all the other speakers had to deal with. But I think because they were in support of some of that, because I'll just say they were a Koch brothers organization. They obviously are okay with almost open borders at this point, and yeah, they definitely did not like my stance on immigration.
All along.
Do what?
I know. Yeah, from the beginning.
Oh yeah, because they went with the classic kind of more libertarian stance of, more labor comes in and that help. But I mean, again, unless you take away the government assistance, it's a terrible idea. Like, it just can't be done. And even then, you have to acknowledge the elephant in the room of culture, and that is a massive part of it as well. Which apparently I'm a racist for, according to some of the comments on one of the shorts that we posted where I said that. I will say, one of the guys who said, I might be taking him out of context here with this short, but he sounds like a racist. All right, well, we should probably. It's 11:30. We've gone for We've gone for about 2 hours now. So
that was fun though. And
in summary, illegal immigration needs to be solved. Biden and entire FBI, all of them corrupt as hell, and go hike the Grand Canyon. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. It really is.
Either way, we'll see you probably next Wednesday, and hopefully you'll over there have probably some better lighting and stuff by then. So we might be able to figure a way to change some things up. We'll see. It looks good today, though. Today it actually doesn't look too bad.
I don't have my lighting on that. I took a couple of bulbs out of the big light up above and got warmer bulbs, so I think you can fix that too.
That actually looks a lot better. All right.